Hey, good evening and welcome to an episode of Gaming with the Sims. I'm Charles Sims. So I'm not looking at board games today at all, I'm looking at miniature games. In particular, Middle-earth, a strategy battle game from Games Workshop. Last weekend I attended the Middle-earth Grand Tournament for 2019. This is the first time I've played competitive since for the last 3 years, and I'm about to get back into the competitive scene. So on the desk in front of me, I've got two armies I took, and we'll have a look at that in a bit more detail. And we're going to have a look at my armies in compared to what else was there. So with Gondor War come out with Legendary Legions. I have a lovely Legendary Legion here, Return of the King, and then I also had, for my evil side of it, I had a Moria force and a Denizens of Mirkwood force, which were only a convenient ally. So for the Great British Hobbit League, basically get Jay to watch this video because there are plenty of spiders in there for him. So running up to the event, I was running out of time, so I had to make a few compromises. So my army of dead, they might be based there, but there is no flock, there is no wisps there at all, and the Legolas I was meant to be using never actually got built or painted, so I had to raid one from my old supply, so it wasn't the same style as everything else. Also, my evil list, I first took this list, if you lose these three models, 12 years ago to my second ever Grand Tournament. If I refer to it being GT, it's for Grand Tournament. So, except for them three which weren't out at that point, I took all these models 12 years ago. Now, these spiders have had multiple bases in their lifetime. If I look over here with some of my other ones, just out of camera shot, I had the traditional GW base with on one side and painted. Then I moved on to double-sided bases, which all of these are on at the moment. And I had basically like a little symbol on it to show one side which was 4 wounds, one side which had this symbol to mark it being wounded. These days, however, I redid all my bases into these, and again I didn't have time to flock them or anything. So that side, which will be getting grass on it, is 2 wounds. And then on the reverse side, you've got some blood stains on it to show that it's got been wounded. For those people, like Ed, who don't like bases coming up, if it's going to make an impact, you can leave it and mark them. But I do have all these, because the spiders just lift on and off, are all double-sided, so to help keep track, because of, as you see here for the Grand Tournament, I took 15 spiders. I've got more spiders in a pile over there, and there are more spiders in other boxes, so I've got a lovely sizable spider army. So yeah, I've got 25 double-sided bases made up, which do need finishing off. I'm not using this army again for a little bit, so hopefully by the time it's come out, they come back. I might have stripped my spiders, repainted them, and finished this. I've got a little over, well, I've got 3 Spider Queens for when I could use 3 Spider Queens. Now they're named still, I'll have to get rid of 2, but just with my monster list, as I call it, there is about 1100 points worth in it with just the spiders I've got out without finding my other spiders. So I've got a very sizable force. These days, do it correctly. I love, well, you need Moria. With Moria you do get access to some of the other beasts. But all of these giant spiders can be taken in the denizens with the bat swarms. And I do have the other Mirkwood spiders. But personally, I would say I don't take these spiders, Mirkwood spiders. I take giant spiders, and I do take, because I take Ashrak, I can make them venom back. One of the lovely things I did discover at the weekend were venom back, well, any giant spiders, or all spiders, have had a massive buff in the new set of rules. They all cause terror, which is awesome, and I wonder, because they cause terror to Jay, if he made them cause terror, which was a nice little area. So they're still 20 points, like the previous edition, but now they have terror, and you can make them 2 points venom backed. Venom back basically means you re-roll all failed to wounds. The one massive weakness this army has is elves. First game I came against, they had an elf back line. Spiders are fight 4 normally, so elves have the higher fight, and they're lovely and squishy, defense 3, so it only takes 4s to wound them. So I lost 6 spiders back to back in the combat because they had an elf. They went, got the 6, 2 wounds, got the 6, 2 wounds, because you've got a normal guy and a spear, and I just lost them in droves. So elves are, they are a massive weakness to elves, because if they lose combat they will be taking wounds. So fight 5 is really a problem, and elves normally, with elves especially, are only defense 3. So I'm wounding them on 3s. Normal giant spiders you're re-rolling 1s, so it's pretty much there. But I always pay 2 points extra and make them venom back, which basically gives them venom, so you re-roll all failed to wounds. Now against dwarves or high defense areas like Return of the King army, that massively pays off, because when you're looking for that natural 6, having a re-roll on it is massive. So first game I had Gwai here I was up against, baited him into charging Drizag, and then with Bestial Fury was up, the Batswan went straight in, went, your half fight value, so the max fight value you can be is now 5. The lovely fight 7 went in, and a couple of spiders. Now the beauty was, yes, he's defense 8. I need 6s to wound with my spiders, but each spider was putting 4 attacks in because he was trapped. And then you go 4 attacks, and I'm looking for a 6, but I've got reroll on all fails. So you're looking at each spider giving at least 1 wound in there, which is quite good. Except for when he then fails to win combats and you want him to do something, it's really useful, him rolling triple 1s. But against, also later on in the tournament, it was a very good game against Dan Huckvale, where he had the Return of the King, but he didn't have Gimli, but he had a few extra cav. Going against that, I managed to get Aragorn out of might, and then he kept just going barge, straight into Aragorn, and he did 3 wounds the first time and 2 wounds the second time. Not quite killing Aragorn because he passed all 3 fate, but it was taking Aragorn out of action because of his fight 7. So it is amazing. And out of this list, won 1 game and lost the other 2. It's really lovely to play, but certain levels at competitive events, there are a few weaknesses which really hurt it. It is only an ally of convenience. You have to take, well, if you take the Spider Queen, which is only in Denizens of Mirkwood now, basically you don't get the Denizens rule, so you can't get just warbands of wargs or other monsters, but in this list you don't need it. And then you also lose your Moria list, but there's only really the 2 goblins which would benefit from it, so you don't really lose anything for having this army of convenience. As I say, it's really fun to play with. It's just got one or two massive weaknesses, but I only bought my Grand Tournament tickets 2 weeks before, and with the new rules I haven't really looked at full armies yet. So next event I'm going to, I'm taking a different list for my evil, so I'm going to hopefully have a bit more fun. But this list, you'll see it again this year. I want to bring it out again once I've got used to playing it again, because of the weaknesses are too big for somebody when you don't have the experience with lists. But as I say, really great fun. So when we look at the Grand Tournament Evil, thanks to J. Claire's post, we can see that there was 80 pure armies out of the 114 there, 14 legendary legions on top, 14 historical allies, then 6 allies of convenience. So I was one ally of convenience, but you have to say it's a pretty themed force. It's a massive spider force here. So both heroes are heavily aimed at being friends with spiders and monsters alike. So this is its force, how it's meant to be. So yes, I had odd rounds up. I was one of them, but there was also one impossible ally there as well. But yeah, I was one of the convenience force. When we look at the good army, yes, it might have been jumping on a bandwagon, and out of 114 armies there was 17 legendary Return of the Kings. I saw quite a few of them, and they were all different in different ways. For me, mine is very film-based, so you've got all three hunters, like you see in film. You've got the army of the King of the Dead, and then you've just got foot troops, quite a lot of other ones. Dropped one of the characters, either Gimli or Legolas, and then all of them had like cavalry ones as well. And I just went, no, I'm going to stick to it. It's more themed like this. And it was really fun to play with. As I say, my spider army came up against Dan Huckvale's one, and terror on terror, but you've got high courage, so you don't really care about terror, where you've got fury here, so it swings around and about. It was a very close game both ways, so these two against each other. The Spider Force is a really good anti-Return of the King force, because yes, some of them do fail, but because of Drurzag making these courage 4, -1 because of the Harbinger is still free, so it still falls the wound, so you're not losing anything. You higher fight than these, and they come 2 wounds as standard. As soon as you take the king out of play, everything in this army makes a really lot of difference for them wounding you. So taking the king out early is key. I played, obviously, each game free, so I said I won 1 game and lost 2 here. With this army, I won 2 games quite comfortably. The third game, it was recon, and I learnt my lesson not using Legolas's auto hit and just killing the guys near my table edge. I got a draw, a 5-5 draw, because I didn't get anybody off and they got 2 off. It is a very sturdy army. It does have some weaknesses, but all in all, it's still fun, and you are limited. Both forces I took were 20 models each, which wasn't too much, but yeah, sure. And I would use Return of the King again. It has got a few flaws, it's got its few weaknesses, especially only 20 models, but I will be looking at using that in the near future again. I'll see, obviously, Stockport in a couple of weeks is massive. I'm not using either of these armies at Stockport, I'm using completely different. As I said, I'm preparing a different evil army at the moment to use, which I'm playtesting at the weekend to give me a bit more all-round variety of areas to use. Because I do think Return of the King is going to be quite strong throughout the first half of this year. And my new evil force goes against it quite nicely, I'll say. But I'm not giving any more clues or hints out. What would I rate these armies? This army, Return of the King, strong 9 out of 10, and I reckon you'll see a lot of people, different variants. I don't think anybody had the same variant as me at the Grand Tournament, and it's very versatile, and there is so many little hints and changes you can do to it. So yeah, I reckon you'll see a lot of Return of the Kings. Spider Forces, there are a few different tweaks to this force. I did see some other spiders, I saw some other bats. I didn't see anything the same as mine. It was quite unique like that, because there was 4 denizens or Mirkwoods in the Grand Tournament in total, and 15 Moria. So I know there were spiders, I know there was bat swarms. I'm not sure about Ashrak and Druzag because of you can't get hold of them at the moment. So I'm lucky to have both of them. And then the Dweller in the Dark. It's fantastic model. I do have a second Gribbly. So both in different ways. Their regaining wound ability is brilliant, except for the only time this died over the weekend. There was only 4 attacks against it in that combat, and it went from full wounds to no wounds. Defense 5 is a massive weakness to it, but fight 7, encourage 7 does hurt people quite nasty. Overall, did I enjoy the Grand Tournament? When I look at it as an event, yes, it's a brilliant event if you can get to it. It kept selling out and selling out and selling out. I was lucky to get a ticket in the end for it, and it was a brilliant way to get me back into the hobby. Well, I'm the ranking coordinator this year, but it was a brilliant first event in a long time for me. So hopefully you'll see me at other events this year. So, good night. I hope you liked the review. Oh, and please like, share and subscribe to the channel. It does help.